Hello and welcome to Mead Gaming's live stream. I'm not quite sure what I was going for there. I kind of was trying to think of something off the top of my head there and it didn't quite work. But there you go. So, with me today we have a special guest who is currently hidden off camera. Going by the Flying Sea Snake as the online alias that they've picked. It is Els, my partner from the podcasts. Hopefully you will recognise her from the various episodes that we've done and the crazy antics. You're going to get to see those live as I slave away painting her army, not mine, as I'm working through an army of Night Lords. So yeah, obviously there was a session last week that did cut a little bit short. I'm not going to be uploading that to YouTube either, for reasons. But the previous one before that will be uploaded, but not till tomorrow. Suffice to say, I just haven't got around to sorting that out yet. But there will be an episode going up onto YouTube soon. Obviously, this one will hopefully go back up following next week's live stream at the usual time. But without further ado, maybe we should actually get the Flying Sea Snake on camera. So if you just want to grab the main camera.
Yeah.
I'm just going to swap over to the desktop for a second.
Indeed. Ooh.
So we are using our very professional camera setup. Okay. So if you look on your right there, you can see what's going on. So you might want to pop the camera to the right a little bit just to even you out. There we go.
Is that better? Can you all see me?
There we are. Welcome to your first live stream.
Yeah, this is nice. I like this. This is new for me. Not in being in front of camera, but like I've never done a live stream and something before, so it's very exciting.
So obviously you'll be the only person on camera for now. I'm going to be mostly hands.
Yes, you are busy painting my Night Lords, which I can see. Then they're on the screen in front of me here. They look
indeed
very blue at the moment.
They are very blue. I'm cheating and using the airbrush as much as possible, which, as you'll soon see, makes the process infinitely quicker.
Yeah, I can imagine it does. Yeah, that's probably the best decision, isn't it, really, than slaving away and painting them individually. Like I started doing when I was doing them myself. I wasn't very I'm not very adept at the whole painting thing. Obviously we've spoke about it on the channel before, haven't we? About our strengths and our weaknesses. And then Jamie offered to paint them for me. So he's doing that for me. He also built my tanks for my Night Lords army. Which
has been done on stream.
Yes, I did. I just remembered that actually. So I have a group of Sicarans, I have a group of Kratos, and I have... Do I have my own Predators yet? Or no, that's the one thing I don't have, which I want. I do, however, have Land Raiders, which I quite like, actually. They're very handy to have when you've got, small groups of... You've got several small groups of infantry. And they pack a punch, actually. They're quite bitey, which I like a lot. But yeah, so there's lots more to come from my Night Lords army. Obviously, Jamie has been covering the painting and building of them on stream, and we've got a couple of tricks up our sleeve for them, don't we? Mm-hmm. I have some special units that I'm bringing. So I have two. So I have a group of junk pack troops, and I have a elite group of Terminators, which are going to be the bodyguard for the Night Haunter. We are bringing Night Haunter, and I'm very, very excited about having an itty bitty Primarch on the tabletop. That is going to be absolutely awesome. I would like to say I'd like to paint Comrade myself, but I feel like it's probably not going to happen, because I feel like you will probably take that over and want to do that. I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Well, as I'm doing the rest of the army, I suppose
You might as well. Yeah. No, I recently, so today, basically, I've come up with some stuff that I think is quite interesting to talk about, and I've got notes in front of me. I'm just going to basically just trail off. And one of the first things I wanted to talk about was actually, so the Night Haunter, Comrade Curse, Primarch of the 8th Legion, Night Lords. I really want to read the book Vulcan Lives. I cannot remember who wrote it. I was looking it up earlier and I can't remember who wrote it. I've got like all of the other authors who wrote the books that I want to read down, and that was the only one that I missed, so it's a little bit annoying, but I want to read that book because one of the biggest things that Primarchs did is obviously torture Vulcan until, you know, he literally got to the point where he died over and over again so much that it kind of... I think Vulcan's quite resilient anyway as a character, but I feel like that Comrade did break him, just slightly. And I think that trauma that he went through and that event between the two Primarchs is overlooked a lot. I don't think like it is talked about nearly as much. Like one of my favourite legions is the Night Lords. They are one of my favourites. Comrade Curse, the Night Haunter, is also one of my favourite Primarchs, if not my favourite at the moment. But
that better not change. I'm doing it entire
but he did that, and that's I'm not sure that's something that can be forgiven. You don't torture somebody for, you know, an enormous amount of time and then just like, I can't believe that people forget about that. And I this is like kind of a personal opinion, but I feel like Night Lords fans sometimes they forget about the sin of the Legion, and they, you know, they make excuses and they see Comrade as sort of this, like, you know, what did we call him? We called him grimdark Batman, I think, something like that.
I mean, that's what he's commonly referred to by a lot of people.
Yeah. But I feel like he, you know, to understand a character and to connect with the story, you have to look at, like, from both perspectives. And I think we can all agree that Comrade was a complete ass for what he did to Vulcan. But yeah, no, I just wish that was something that was talked about a little bit more, and that's why I want to read the book, because the book is supposed to be really, really good. And there's loads of like books that I want to read. Another one is the Prince of Crows book by Aaron Dembski Bowden, which is the novel based on Jago Sevatarian, the first captain of the Atramentar, which was the elite veteran Terminators. They were tactical, and they were the Night Lords. Like, we send these guys in when it gets real. Sevatarian is one of my favourite Warhammer characters, just in general. I think he's awesome, even though he's an arrogant so-and-so. He is, like, I think he's absolutely fantastic. He was a officer of the I want to say this right, Chiroptera, I think, something like that. I don't know. Which is basically the Night Haunter's like inner circle. So his advisors and the people that he went to when there was a problem, or to help build strategy, and like during the Horus Heresy and the latter end of the Great Crusade, I believe. And one of my favourite things about Sevatarian, as somebody who hates the Emperor of Mankind with a lot of her being, is that he was apparently the first person to say, "Death to the false emperor," and I think that goes so hard. That is such a legendary thing, to imagine being the one to say that, and then that starts off like millions of Marines and like traitors to say that thing. I think that's like amazing. That's just, it boggles my mind. And yeah, I think he's just like, even though obviously he's a Night Lord, he comes across as just like very human to me. Like, he obviously, he was like a really arrogant man, and he would if he didn't agree with something that someone said, he'd take off his helmet and spit on the floor. I feel like that kind of attitude is very Night Lord-ish, and obviously he had like a battle of his own. Like, he had really bad psychic sort of experiences. He had abilities from a very young age, like when he was like a tiny boy, before he was even put up to the trials to become a Space Marine. And I think that his problem was probably the fact that he was very misunderstood by everybody that he met, or he grew up with, or he knew. I think that sometimes when you are an open-minded person and you meet people who are very closed-minded, especially those people who are the same age as you, and whereas you're a little bit mature and they're not quite grown up enough yet, I feel like that can make you feel like you're quite closed off, and that you have to be a certain way in order to be accepted. And that was not what Sevatarian was about at all. He didn't care if he didn't fit in. It didn't matter to him. He just wanted to make his Primarch proud, and I think that he is the embodiment of what a Night Lord should be. He decorated his armour. He was one of the first to decorate his armour with flayed skin and skulls. And one of the things I find most fascinating about him is obviously he was very repressed from sort of a young age, with all of the psychic nonsense that he had going on. And I feel like because he repressed his psychic abilities his entire life, it made him stronger as a soldier, to be honest. I can't remember there's a book. There's a book that he's in, and it's I think it's somewhere around the time of Istvan 5, somewhere across that timeline, and he is in conversation with a Dark Angel, and his gauntlets that he wears with his armour are painted red. Now, upon my research, because obviously this came up, upon my research I found out that actually gauntlets that are painted ethereal red are a mark of shame in Nostraman culture, and basically it means that the person that, well, okay, so there's two parts of this. So the first part is in Nostraman culture, if a person did like a really, heinous crime, but they were worth something, they had their hands painted red. So, like, it couldn't come off, and, like, no matter what you did, your hands they were bright red. And it basically meant that they were given sort of a sentence, but in order for them, they were still useful whilst they were alive, so they were made to work, to finish out the work that they had set out for them, and then they were going to die. So it's sort of like a stamp to say, you've done this be bad, you're going to die, but only when we allow you to. And I find it quite fascinating that that piece of culture was then brought into the Night Lord's army, where even like a mighty warrior like Jago Sevatarian could not escape that sort of punishment. So his gauntlets are painted red, which is, it's gliding over the iconic lightning bolts, and it's not specified why they are painted red. Sevatar is he seems very he doesn't want to mention it, like, at all. And I think obviously there's a lot to speculate about what it could be, and I think it's probably something to do with him personally failing Comrade Kurz, because obviously the two of them, the Night Haunter, Sevatarian, they worked quite closely together. And I actually think that Sevatarian was probably the closest friend that the Night Haunter had, because obviously Kurz didn't get along with any of his brothers. I think he probably respected Sanguinius, but I wouldn't say that they got on. But that's because I think that Kurz is sort of the black sheep of the family. He was different, and he had a different view of the world than his brothers, and that obviously caused quite a lot of conflict. And then when he became a traitor, I think that those lines were they were stuck like glue. There was no going back from that. But yes, so Sevatarian, his gauntlets are painted red, and I think that he is probably, obviously he's supposed to be dead, but there's nothing like confirmed. Even on Warhammer Wiki, it's worded as some believe. So I think that it's always open for interpretation. Whether he is dead, whether he's hiding away somewhere. I think he probably is. I think he probably went out in style, and he went out fighting for what he believed in, which I hope so. And he was exceptional fighter. One of my next points is actually, did you know this? His sword, the Knight's Whisper, it's a crafted Nostraman chainsglaive. Have I said that right? Chainglaive. Did I say that? I said it right, okay. It's basically a long pole with a chainsaw blade shoved on top of it. So it's almost like spear-like, and then you've got the chainsaw blade shoved on it.
That's pretty common in a lot of Chaos factions.
Yeah. And that's why I want to read the Prince of Crows, because apparently there's supposed to be this whole battle scene with him, just him and this weapon, against like a group of other Marines, and I find it quite fascinating actually that the Night's Whisper used to belong to the Night Haunter, but for one reason or other that I can't remember, the Night Haunter discarded it, and then Sevatarian used it as his own. And I find it like so cool that his first captain is just rocking around with his old sword. It's almost like, you know, like a father-son bonding little thing going on there. Right, take a drink, because I've been yapping. How are you getting on? You got some little red bits going on there. Little helmets?
Not helmets, no. Shoulder pads.
Shoulder pads, sorry. I think it's the angle from there.
Yeah, they don't show particularly well on camera, sadly. These guys are teeny tiny.
They are teeny tiny.
Yeah, just going through, painting all those red bits. Hopefully there's not too many.
Then they look good. They're very blue.
And they're going to, well, later on they will get a wash over them as well, which will really darken that down into a proper Night Lord's blue.
Yeah.
This is just a nice base blue to use, because I know I won't cut. Again, especially with like little models and stuff, I don't really want to be doing targeted washes on certain parts of the armour.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So what I tend to do with these small scale models is I paint everything a little bit lighter than what I want it to be, and then I whack a dark wash over everything and it all tones down.
Yeah.
I tend to find that works reasonably well. Obviously, I have already painted some of these already, so I do know it works.
Yeah, you've already done the process once before, so you know you're working off what you know best, which is good. It's very good.
Yeah, by the time these are done, that'll be 100 Space Marines done.
Yes. Wow. That's...
Which is the equivalent of a loyalist company. A full company.
Wow. It's amazing. I feel like most armies, like just like in general, not just like legions, they've all got quite like complicated paint schemes. I can't really think of anything. I suppose actually Death Corps, Krieg, they have quite do they not? I would have thought it's like green and brown.
If you actually look at the models,
yeah,
and how complicated those models are, they look to me like an absolute hell on earth to paint.
I'm just gonna Google. I've got my phone in front of me.
That's
I'm just
right.
gonna.
Give me a second. I'll put it up on screen for everyone.
Yeah.
So we get that bit done. There we go.
Well, actually, funnily enough, I do have some talking points about the Death Corps Krieg. Basically, just the perfect soldiers, right? They are.
Well, I'm not sure about that particular phrasing, so to speak, but
Cold, cynical.
yeah.
The word,
I mean,
maybe the word heroes shoved in there as well. Maybe a little bit.
yeah. You'd have to yeah, I tend to think of them like Star Wars clone troopers, but super.
Yeah, I saw something today about that, actually, about how oh yeah, I see now. Yeah, that they do look a little bit
So like
complicated.
all of these little details, they make the painting process slow.
Yeah.
That's why typically Space Marines certain Space Marines are quite quick. I mean, that's why I really like the Heresy era Space Marine kits, because they have a lot less trim.
Yeah.
Which makes them so much faster to paint. Now, if you're a comfortable painter and you enjoy the process, these look amazing. Like, you can see they look amazing. They're great models. If I had an army of these, I'd be very happy. But no, I wouldn't want to paint this. I mean, just trying to get all those leather straps done on inside all of that cloak, and it's a two-tone cloak as well. Getting that little bit of mask in there, and the different arm plates, and the different leathers going on. It's just a lot. I mean, that's a different scheme there, look, which is a little bit simpler, but even so. And you've also got to remember how many of these you need to paint. Like, this is Death Corps of Krieg. Those infantry are very numerous, potentially, in an army. I mean, you could probably have 10 to every 5 Space Marines, so you're doubling the number straight away. It's an enormity. You'd have, Space Marines, again, I mean, this is a whole conversation about numbers in 40k scale, but some lists you can almost run like hordes of Space Marines.
Yeah.
You can have lists of about 50 Space Marines in a 2,000 point army.
Yeah.
But then if you were to have the equivalent in Guard and do like a Death Corps infantry army, I think you can top out at like 200 plus models.
Wow. And for 40k scale as well, that's a lot to have on the table. But yeah, no, I'm only really just learning about them properly. I don't know a lot at the moment. Obviously, I know that they are a regiment of the Astra Militarum, that there was a crazy civil war, not even like chaos induced rebellion. I think it was just like a regular rebellion between its people, and billions of people died. And Krieg culture then evolved into endless war to fight for the Emperor. I think, was it because the people that ran the planet or whatever, they turned against the Emperor, so now they're fighting in his name as like penance or something along those lines?
Yeah, so from my understanding of it, and I'm not an expert on Krieg.
Yeah.
You are right in the sense that there was a civil war in their homeworld. And from what I gather, it all came down to the planet wanting to secede from the Imperium. They weren't necessarily turned to chaos or anything like that, although I'm sure somewhere down the line there probably was something chaosy going on in the background.
Probably.
Because there usually is in these stories.
Yeah.
But to the best of my knowledge, that wasn't really a part of it. They just wanted to secede because they decided that the Imperium wasn't really doing them any favours, and they'd had enough of sending all their people off to die, basically.
Yeah.
But the military were quite happy with the state of play, so there was a civil war broke out that turned into a massive nuclear war, forcing them all to go underground, and that's when you get this whole death mask, gas mask.
Yeah, obviously the gas mask is because of the poisonous atmosphere on the homeworld. Yeah, after the was it like a radioactive bomb or something that was dropped?
It was literally a nuclear winter. They literally nuked their entire planet.
Yeah.
So that's basically it. So now, several thousand years, I think, later, after all this had gone on, suddenly the Krieg emerged from their bunkers, fully loyalist again, and somehow are able to mass produce millions and millions of soldiers every however long the tithes are, for a new Astra Militarum regiment in the Death Corps of Krieg, with these genetically modified horses that they ride into battle and stuff like
that also have gas masks as well.
So
gas mask horses.
They're an interesting faction. They are die-hard loyalists.
It's funny because the only stuff I knew about the Krieg before was the Warhammer memes of them, like the happy gas mask noise memes, or the what was the other one? The image of like a corpseman with the shovel and then like about to hit the viewer. I just think that I know that there's quite a few Krieg novels. I want to read up on them.
I don't know how many actual Krieg novels there are, because I only know of one famous storyline that features them.
Yeah.
That's not including anything new, because the Krieg before more recently were a much more obscure regiment.
Yeah.
Because before the last sort of year or so, Death Corps of Krieg were a Forge World only faction.
Yeah.
They were created by Forge World as their sort of Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum equivalent line. And the only major story that they were involved in at the time, I think, was something called the Siege of Rax.
Yeah.
Which is a huge, huge story, especially if you end up watching a YouTube series by Arch, who's done something like a 60-part breakdown of the Siege of Rax. Each one is about an hour long.
Wow.
Based on a book that probably takes less than half that to read.
Yeah.
And that's where they're all famous from, but they were a really popular Forge World line. That story was very popular, and in the last sort of couple of years, Games Workshop have started re-releasing them in plastic and introducing them as part of the main line of the Astra Militarum.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure how prominent they are yet, or whether there are more stories, because I don't know of any. The only one I really know is the Rax stuff.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm not even sure where that's from.
But yeah, regardless, I do want to read their novel, or whatever more. I want to know more about them. I want to learn more about them.
I don't think you're the only one.
Yeah, I feel like they are. It's funny. I saw something that was about like how they deal with their guilt over like the Civil War and stuff, because obviously they do have like this very similar aesthetic to like World War II warfare, kind of, like the whole trench coats and like the gas masks and all that kind of stuff. Did you know that they are one of the few armies that you are allowed to combine like forces? So you're allowed to have air force, and you're allowed to have army, and you're allowed to have artillery. Like all three, you're allowed to have like combined forces, because I'm pretty sure usually you're not allowed to have all three, are you?
I think you might be getting a little bit mixed up there.
Yeah.
So, typically in the Astra Militarum, in the lore, each regiment is supposed to be specialised.
Right.
Into, specific tank companies, infantry companies, artillery companies, stuff like that. But the Death Corps break that to a certain degree. So that's not applicable in terms of gameplay, like models and stuff. You can do what you like.
Yeah.
And that's nothing to do with any other faction. It's only the Astra Militarum.
So it is probably just within the Astra Militarum then. Okay. I mean, I think that's still like kind of scary, the fact that you've got these soldiers who are literally willing to die. Like they are brought up believing that if you die on the battlefield, then you will finally know peace. Life is war, in death there is peace. And then you've got like this like unbeatable force, pretty much, who they have like all these like special weapons and stuff. This is why I want to read that book, because I don't
know how interesting they'd actually be in terms of narrative, because, as you say, because of their whole death is the ultimate goal mentality.
Yeah.
Which is very true. The Death Court is known to have they are known to be part of what is called a death cult. Their entire life and society revolves around their eventual deaths.
Yeah.
And not in a sort of pseudo-Egyptian Necron style.
No, it's much more...
It's not like they're going to an amazing afterlife. It's more like just death is the expectation, and that's what you're working towards.
Yeah.
And it's just seen as normality, which I think might end up leading to, particularly from a narrative perspective, very boring characters. Because they have no motivation
other than death.
beyond fighting until they die.
Yeah.
Which, to a certain degree, Space Marines have, but Space Marines don't try to die, so to speak, whereas Krieg almost do. Or to a certain point, anyway, the Krieg have literally no concept of human life being valuable.
No.
Whereas even Space Marines, some of them maybe not so much for normal humans, but certainly among themselves, view themselves as valuable. They don't want to die or waste resources.
No.
Whereas Krieg, Astra Militarum in general, like the higher ups and stuff, quite often will send millions to their deaths for sometimes no reason at all. But the Death Corps take it to an extreme. Like, to them, lives are literally
nothing. Like
they're just numbers on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, they're bred for war, and that is their life. I suppose if you think about it, it is quite sad actually. That still, like, however long, I don't know how long in the current timeline that the Krieg Civil War was, but it's gotta be like...
It was generational.
Yeah. So it's, it's almost sad to think that is the way that they are still, like, living their lives, and they still feel like they owe that debt to the Emperor, so they're still fighting. They're still a part of, like, the never-ending war, which is the 40k universe.
Counterpoint to that, though, is maybe that's what makes them... Maybe that is what actually makes it better for them, because they're in a universe where that's completely inevitable, and they've been brought up to believe that this is normal. You think about the standard Astra Militarum regiments, and even most of the Space Marines and stuff like that they know that there's more to life. They're just never going to get to see it. Whereas at least the Krieg can't miss what they never knew, so to speak.
Yeah, I do think it's one of those where it's almost like a reflection on, like, the lives that we live, and like how we perceive death, and but I definitely, like, I'm reading 3 Black Library books at the moment. I'm reading The Lion, Son of the Forest. I'm trying to get through the Night Lords Omnibus, and I'm also reading an Adeptus Sororitas novel as well. And like I've already talked about 2 other books that I want to read about today. I'm just gonna get to the point where I'm swimming in books that I haven't even started or read much of yet. So, but actually, talking of an Adeptus Sororitas novel, the Morvenn Vahl novel has come out. and I am very excited to read it. I don't know if you've heard anything about it yet.
I don't know anything about it beyond its existence.
So, there is one particular character who I am very much looking forward to seeing being portrayed, which is Death of Saints. And he is, oh boy, a monster of a man. I don't know much yet. I did watch a lore video from Mr. Bones 40k on YouTube where he was talking about it, and I didn't want too many spoilers from the book, so I left the video halfway through it, and I've been waiting until I can get my hands on the novel. But basically, Cole Rakul is a Night Lord warlord who is on a mission, basically, to kill all of the members of the Adeptus Sororitas Argent Shroud. And the only reason why I know that he wants to do that is because they separated him from his sister. So that is probably at the top of my list of the I must read at the moment. But I haven't been able to get my hands on it yet, I definitely need to take a trip, I think. I'm going to get the book.
You've already got.
I know. I need to be honest, I need to finish the Night Lords novel. But the only thing that's bothering me about wanting to read it is the fact I've already had a lot of the contents of it spoiled for me. So I will read it. And if even if I don't get that one, even if I don't read that one, I probably will read one of the other ones first, because they're a little bit shorter. But the last one I got, the last new one I got was the Lions novel, which I am very much looking forward to reading that book, because I do like the Lion as a character. He's definitely an autistic little bean like myself, but I think that Lionel Johnson is definitely one of my favourites. Who would you say is your favourite Primarch? Do you have one? Or do you have one that you relate most to? Or not that it, I would say it's quite hard to relate to a Primarch, but you know what I mean?
I probably have 3.
Yeah.
Possibly 4.
Yeah.
Depending on how you look at it. Obviously, I'm a massive fan of Alpharis Omegon.
Yes, of course.
I like what they do. I like the nature of them being not necessarily evil, but not good either, or willing to do whatever is necessary to achieve their ends. I like that about them.
Yeah, definitely.
Certainly, probably not 100% the way I would do things.
Yeah.
Certainly not far off it, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah.
I would say Magnus. Magnus is a big favourite of mine. Do love Magnus. Magnus did everything wrong. He did a lot wrong, but for the right reasons.
Yes.
Which sadly, as the saying goes, the pathway to hell is paved with good intentions, and I think Magnus is the absolute epitome of that statement.
Yeah.
Potentially the most powerful Primarch that was brought low, and then felt the need to literally become a demon.
Yeah.
Because of not just his actions, but the actions of those around him as well. I mean, the Emperor played a huge part in that downfall.
I think the Emperor played a big part in each Primarch's downfall, to be honest.
Yes, some of them maybe not so much. But yeah, anyway, Magnus is definitely one of my top Primarchs. I just love the character, and I like psychics and stuff, so it's all good.
Why not?
Well, I say psychics. Psychers.
Psychers, yeah.
Bit of an important distinction there.
Yeah.
Certainly for me. And the other one I'm actually quite a big fan of is a loyalist, and that's Jagatai Khan.
Do you know? Oh my goodness. So, going off of that, I had absolutely no idea about anything to do with Jagatai, apart from the fact that he was a Primarch of the White Scars, who were originally called the Star Hunters? Something like that.
Sounds right.
And that his planet that he was found on have like a Mongolian kind of aesthetic going on, and that they were the army on the big bikes. That was all I knew.
Yeah,
and then
they're a lot more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
They do actually have quite an interesting culture and society and structure.
Yeah. And did you know that when Jagatai agreed to pledge his allegiance to the Emperor, his one request was that he wanted his planet to keep their culture. Mm-hmm. He didn't want the Imperium to take over and then take that culture away from his people, and then that allowed him to infiltrate it into his army, which I think that's a really nice detail. And obviously I don't think that the Emperor was beyond accepting that. It's quite a simple request, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the only Primarch that did it. A couple were like that. Sanguinius famously didn't want the Emperor to mess with bar-like culture and stuff like that.
Yeah, and obviously I think
even Magnus's homeworld of Prospero wasn't massively impacted.
Yeah.
By the Imperium and stuff like that.
Probably Fenris as well wasn't.
No, Fenris wasn't. But
Fenris is quite unique in.
Fenris is very unique. And
yeah.
I don't think the Emperor wanted to mess with Fenris, because Fenris just kind of naturally produced very interesting fodder for Space Marines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of almost perfectly built to make the savage Space Marines.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. So, the Emperor kind of picks and chooses when he wants to influence things and when he doesn't.
Yeah. Obviously, I think... Obviously, everybody knows that I love the Night Haunter. And I'm quite fond of the Lion as well. But... I don't know, like, out of, like, the rest of the traitors, I don't really have, like, a favourite.
Not even Fulgrim, the Phoenician?
No, because he's stupid.
Or the absolute tragic character of
that
Angron.
Is Angron. Yeah, I feel for Angron, and I do relate to him a little bit when it comes to, like, how he was treated and stuff. But I don't think he's a favourite. It's still a smash, but I don't think it's a favourite, because other than, like, thinking his backstory is tragic, I don't really have any sort of, like, I don't like him.
I mean, in fairness, Angron, as soon as he becomes a demon, essentially loses character.
Yeah.
He's no longer a character in the truest sense. He's more like a force of nature.
Well, it's the same as Magnus, isn't it?
No, because Magnus still has character. He's, even as a demon, he's still got an element of the person he once was. you know, he's got capacity to think and react and make decisions based on emotion. Angron doesn't. Like, even I mean, pre demonhood, I mean, he really struggled with being a, you know, human.
Yeah.
But since he's become a demon, that he's the most demonic of the Primarchs, because that he is nothing but pure rage incarnate.
Yeah.
He's a mad dog, essentially.
Yeah.
Whereas even Mortarion has nuance to him. Even Fulgrim, to a degree, has, you know, desires and thoughts, and can even have levels of respect for, if not each other, but for their legions and stuff like that. But Angron's just doesn't. He's got no capacity to think like a human anymore.
Yeah.
You know, killing and violence is the only thing he knows and understands now.
Yeah, and that's just so sad, because he could have been, like, if the Emperor had taken the butcher's nails out of his head when he was given the opportunity to, without killing him, like, he probably would never have become a traitor. He probably would have been a loyalist, and probably, you know, would have grown to be a great warrior, you know, maybe even as great as Robuta Guilliman, but he didn't.
Guilliman's not a great warrior.
He's more of he's a better strategist than he is a warrior, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because I do stand by the statement of saying that Guilliman is the best Primarch. Like, out of all of them, the abilities that he has and the way that he is the best Primarch.
Okay. Right, okay.
Have I opened a can of worms there?
You've opened a massive can of worms. Not just in this room, but when that hits the internet, that's going to blow up in your face.
Well, yeah, I probably, but so I do stand by it.
Okay, present your argument.
Okay.
And we'll break it down, and we'll see where you stand. And it's a bold statement.
I know it's a very bold statement. But
come on, then, what makes him the best Primarch?
His ability to adapt.
Also, why am I not painting Ultramarines?
Because no one is doing Space Marines in our group, are they? So, I'm pretty sure we're all doing traitors anyway. I don't think we have a loyalist army.
We don't.
Which says a lot about us. So, you know. Anyway. So, I think one of the biggest things that makes Guilliman the best Primarch is that his ability to adapt is, if you best him in something, he will analyse the hell out of it and make sure that it does not happen again. And he is, you know, he is the Regent, what is it called? Imperial Regent, that's what it's called, and Lord Commander of the Imperium now. And there is a reason for that, and that is because he's got big brain. He's
the first Primarch to return.
Yeah, but
that's the real reason.
But I would argue that he is the best fit for it, because if it had been the Lion, I think that the Lion is more of the fighter out of the two of them. You know, he's the one that you want to see on the battlefield. He's the one, you know, he is the first Primarch. He is the one that should lead by example. And
so I'm detecting something here.
What do you mean?
You need to define what you mean by best Primarch now, because
best Primarch. That's what do you mean? I defined it.
No, you didn't. Because
did. Guilliman.
Well, no, you just told us that Guilliman. You said that Guilliman's the best Primarch. But you haven't really defined why and what you mean by best. Because are we saying that You mean he's the best Primarch?
His ability to lead.
So you think he's the best Primarch in his ability to lead, but are we talking politically,
Yes.
financially? Are we talking about militarily, strategically?
Strategically, yes.
Into religiously, or in the terms of getting people to follow him?
Politically, definitely. Strategically, definitely.
Okay, you're definitely wrong straight away.
You don't think he's the best strategically?
No.
Okay.
There's quite a few Primarchs that outclass Guilliman in strategy.
Okay.
The Lion, for example, is probably a better strategist.
Okay.
He's also a better fighter as well.
Oh, I am not. That's not,
But
I don't disagree with you.
The Lion is probably a better strategist. Alpharis and Omegon are probably better strategists. In fact, they are so good at it, they literally have a whole thing where they on purposely make it hard for themselves. Which is also one of the reasons Guilliman doesn't like them, because Guilliman knows that they can win a battle in probably 24 hours and they'll take 10 years just because it makes it a lot more difficult for them.
Yeah.
Jagatai Khan's probably not as good. Sanguinius probably. Even if Sanguinius isn't better in terms of strategy, Sanguinius is probably the only Primarch other than pre-ascended Horus that had the greatest ability to convince people to follow him, to the point where even Guilliman himself named Sanguinius as the regent of Imperium Nihilus during the heresy. So he actually named him essentially the second emperor. And that was Guilliman himself doing that.
Yeah.
I think in terms of political leadership, I think you're probably not wrong.
Mm.
You know, I don't think certainly none of the other loyalists could probably fill that role as well as he did and has done. But in terms of military strategy, I think there are Primarchs on both sides of the divide that could probably outmatch Guilliman in strategy. Combat-wise, Guilliman isn't even close to the top 5. There are many Primarchs far more capable of him in combat.
He probably hasn't seen as much of it as his brothers, to be honest.
He's probably fought just as many battles as most of them.
Yeah.
I think Guilliman probably is a bit more of an armchair general than the others are, or some of the others are. He probably does like to lead from the back a bit more, rather than lead from the front. Not that he can't, he just doesn't, because he's better at organising than he is actually swinging a sword. So yeah, I think you need to be a little bit careful with the distinction of best Primarch.
Okay, that's fair enough. He is still one of my favourites. That's one of my favourites, though.
There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing.
And I do think I do have like a top 5, but like not really in any particular order. Like the Lion, Russ, Kurz, Guilliman, and Horus. Because even though, you know, it's called the Horus Heresy for a reason, but like even though he did what he did, he still will be one of my favourites. Because I get why he did what he did. Obviously, I think it was largely down to him being manipulated a lot. But yeah. Feel like that's another tangent to go off there if you want to take that one.
No, I think it's not an unreasonable insight into Horus Lupercal himself. I mean, he is one of the more interesting Primarchs, I think.
Oh god, yeah.
Because his motivations initially weren't evil.
No, not at all.
Quite the opposite, in fact. I mean, he initially did not want to turn. But he was manipulated, he was tricked. And, you know, there are some people that think that's not really possible for a Primarch and whatnot, but we know that Primarchs are fallible because they are essentially still human, which means they're not perfect. And you know, he was tricked into believing that the Emperor was going to make himself into a god. That the whole crusade was about him being able to usurp the powers of the warp to become a god.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with the success of humanity, and that eventually his path and reign of terror to become a god would eventually lead to a dark future where there's nothing but endless war.
Yeah.
The irony, of course, is that when he was shown these visions of the future, they were true. The visions were true. The problem is the reason they were true
Was
different.
Different, yes.
So, you know, it can be hard to really blame him in the sense that, well, he did see visions of a future that did actually come true.
Yeah.
He was just tricked into believing that the path towards that future was something he was going to prevent, when in fact actually
he caused it. Yeah.
So it's almost understandable, really.
Yeah.
How that happens, and obviously as time goes on, you know, Horus does become darker and more violent and vicious, and he becomes the very thing he kind of was fighting to, you know, save the human race from. Which I would also say is the exact same thing that happened to the Emperor. I mean, they both have very parallel stories, because Horus wanted to betray the Emperor to free humanity from the tyranny of the Mad King, if you like.
Yeah.
And then the Emperor himself fought against Horus to try and stop him from doing breaking everything he was planning on creating, but then failed to win the fight efficiently, becomes a vegetable,
Yeah.
and becomes, again, the very thing he fought to try and destroy, which was a god. Supposedly. I mean, whether he
Supposedly.
was. Whether he was actually trying to become a god or not is a bit in question, but supposedly he was fighting to remove the concept of godhood from humanity, and instead became the god of humanity. Horus was trying to stop him from becoming the god, and stopping a world of ceaseless violence, and actually created it while also creating the Emperor as a god at the same time. They literally created each other's worst nightmare.
How you like them apples?
One could almost say the entire Horus heresy was fought for no reason at all.
Well, I feel like we should rank them now. We should rank the Primarchs. I feel like I know who would be on the bottom.
Well, so you want to rank the Primarchs?
I want us. I think we should rank them together.
I feel like we should have a tier list now, but I'm not sure how we can do a tier list.
Let me have a look at.
Because I know this is a popular YouTube thing. To do tier lists these days.
It is very popular, yes. I shall have a look at what the different...
I feel like it's a very dangerous topic to tier list the Primarchs. I feel like that's where you want to go, so who am I to stop you? If I know we were going to do this, I might try to set it up so that we could do something on camera.
How are you getting on with the Night Lords?
Well, I'm just about to finish up putting all the black weapon casings on.
Yeah.
And I've got to quickly go around and put some black on like the little tabs between their feet.
Mm.
Because that's the way the models are designed, so that they are, actually producible models. But yeah, I just want to cheat and paint those in black, so when they go on the bases, they are hidden a little bit.
So we have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, E tier, F tier. So S tier is like the best.
Yeah.
And then you have F tier, which is like pretty bad. And then obviously like you've got which one's in the middle? So you've got C tier, which is not bad, not good, just pretty neutral, slap bang in the middle.
Yeah.
Did you want me to send you this link, or how are you?
What have you done?
There is a website called Tier Maker.
Okay. Yeah. Have you got? How can you send that to me on my desktop? I mean, I found the website.
So if you just type in Primarchs into the search bar.
I guess someone's already done this, haven't they?
Yeah.
Warhammer Horus Heresy model tier list.
Ooh. It was
Universal Primarch tier list. Which one did you go for?
Warhammer 40k.
W4K Forge World Primarch Miniatures. All Warhammer Primarch models, they came 40k. Just Primarch tier list.
The first one.
No one's got pictures on it.
That one.
Move your finger so I can actually read it. That didn't come up straight away. This one's got pictures though. So let me share the screen. Alright, you're gonna stop watching me paint random stuff. We're doing a tier list.
Well, you're still gonna paint.
I'm still gonna paint, but obviously I shall be running this as well. So there you go. You should be able to see we've got all the people down here. We've got various lists. Okay. So.
Why don't I just have the mouse? And then... Or do you want the mouse?
No, it's all on this screen and I can't turn this round.
Oh.
So.
Oh, this is delayed, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
okay.
that's a delayed camera for you to view things on. Yes, so I still need control of it. That's fine. So, before we actually get started then, so we got the list down there. We're gonna have to. It looks. Nope, they're not in order in any way, shape, or form.
No.
It just so happens that the lion is the first
Is it the front?
just to try and confuse me. Right. So, what are we ranking them on then? Because we can't just say. We're just going to rank them in general because there's so many caveats to that.
Okay, so criteria.
It's just going to be a purely lore-based thing. Are we going to consider their models or anything like that, or?
I think we should stick to the lore.
Okay.
And then maybe when we are all together as a group, then we can.
I'm sensing you might want to do another tier list or something.
Yeah, I think we should probably do we can do a lore one now, and then we can do like a game perspective one as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of lore, then, we're going to focus on the lore. what is our criteria? Let's because obviously we can probably do multiple of these over the course of several episodes or even on podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So let's pick a specific topic, skill, or attribute, and we'll rank the Primarchs based on that. So, for example, we could say, which Primarch, or where do we grade each Primarch based on their ability to lead their legion, or their combat effectiveness in our opinion, or how cool their story is in our opinion, or something like that. So I'm giving you some points. You're leading this. You've come up with this idea. So you pick.
Yeah. Okay.
The criteria.
Okay. I definitely think that we should judge them on narrative. I think that we should judge them on...
We're going to pick one thing.
One thing?
One thing.
Oh my goodness.
So pick a thing, a topic or tangent or something.
I think we should go with narrative. I think we should go with
no, you be specific. What part of the narrative? Not just which one is the best in terms of narrative, because that don't really make sense.
Okay. I think that we should judge them on their relationship with the Emperor and the Imperium.
So wouldn't that mean that all of the traitors are immediately in F tier?
No, not necessarily. Because some of them were betrayed by him first. So...
Okay, so what's the grading criteria?
Oh my god. Okay, maybe not that. Scrap that.
Don't be too complicated. Just think of something nice and simple. You're overthinking.
Yeah, I am now. Oh, I don't know. What do you think we should judge them on?
That's cheating. It's supposed to be your concept. Come on, I run this channel. Usually.
I know.
You've got to do some work.
Oh my goodness.
Right. Do you want me to just pick one?
I asked you to do that and then you said I should. I'm trying.
I know, but you're taking too long.
I've
almost finished painting up these guns.
Okay. Well, the other one I thought of was that we judged them on no, it's gone. You're gonna have to think of it.
Right. Let's judge them based on their special Primarch powers.
Okay.
And let's rate them based on basically how good we think those powers are in terms of power as well as cool factor. So whether they're particularly cool. Actually, let's use a Deadpool reference. Whether they're cinematic.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go for. We're going to assess their Primarch powers based on how powerful we think they are and whether they have like a cinematic appeal. Yeah, if we were to put them in a Henry Cavill TV show, would they translate well?
Okay. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Okay. So, this might require a little bit of memory work from me, and we'll be interested to see whether you know what some of these are.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll go in the list that we've got at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, so that is the Lion.
That is Lionel
I believe
Johnson.
Is the first one there.
Do you know what his special source power is?
Does it have... I'm trying to think.
It should be really obvious if you know it. Which you should do, considering apparently you've been reading that book.
I read a bit of it. I haven't read much of it.
So
Does it have something to do with lions?
No.
It doesn't. Right, okay. Let's get that stupid question out of the way. Does it have something is he another one of the psychic gifted ones? Or is it combat based?
It's questionable whether you classify it as a psychic thing, but it probably is.
Right.
So in the new 40k timeline, so this is after the heresy.
Yeah.
In the current iteration, when he's returned to the 40k setting,
yeah,
he's acquired an ability called forest walking.
Okay, is that like a dream walking similar thing, or
it's a literal? He can basically teleport into essentially like a warp forest.
Oh.
Which he can then exit at any point in the universe. So he can well, certainly galaxy anyway. So he can literally, basically teleport.
Wow. Okay.
By travelling through this special warp forest.
Yeah.
Which he uses obviously to get around and get to places extraordinarily fast. And he can take people with him, but so far as I'm aware, he can't like take entire armies. So he can sort of travel around with like his personal guard and stuff like that really quickly.
Yeah.
Which obviously is, I would argue, is quite an impressive feat, considering he can literally break the laws of physics and travel across the galaxy.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And as far as we know, is a lot safer than conventional warp travel.
Yeah.
Because there's no chance of, as far as we know, no chance of just demons popping out and saying hi.
Where would you? Because obviously we do have to agree on where we place him. So where would you place him in the tier? So you've got S, which is the best. C, which is neither good, neither bad, just sort of meh. And then F that's utter doo-doo, basically. And then obviously the bits in between are just sort of, regulated.
I would probably place it. I mean, some of these might have to be subject to change as we go through.
Absolutely. We can move stuff around, absolutely.
But I'm thinking at the moment probably B tier, because it's not sort of epic,
but it's not meh either.
But it's also still quite strong narratively what you can do with it. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily epic or is going to have the biggest impact in the world.
Yeah.
Which also makes me think now maybe it might move down a little bit, but we'll go. I'm going to go with B for now.
That's funny you say that, because I was actually going to say A, but I can meet you in the middle at B. I do think that is pretty cool, and I do think it's definitely useful. I could definitely see how that would be something that would be like needed when it comes to making like a quick escape, or needing to get somewhere really quickly, and then it's kind of like his cheat code. It's kind of like his little bit of plot armor coming back,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice little ability. I question how strong it is when we start comparing it to some of the others.
Yeah.
But then when we get to some of the others, maybe I'll change my mind. Okay.
But yeah.
So are we gonna pop him in B for now?
Yeah, we'll pop him in B for now. We might move him.
Let's pop the lion in B. Okay, so Vulcan. Do you know his special power?
I know that Vulcan is a perpetual.
And that is his power.
And he cannot die. Hence why when, like I said earlier, when Comrade Kurz was torturing him, he kept dying, then coming back, and then over and over and over again. Yeah. But I do know how it was discovered that he is a perpetual.
Right.
He had a literal bomb dropped on him. He thought he was going to die beside his sons, the salamanders.
Mm-hmm.
He had a bomb dropped on him, and then he came back to life and saw that all of his sons around him, they were all dead, he was alive, and then he got captured by the Night Haunter. I'm pretty sure that is how that went.
That's pretty...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, his special power is that he's a perpetual. Now, I don't know, really. Because not that I don't think that being a perpetual is bad. Like, I think it's kind of cool to think about, you know? Like,
I've got 2 names for you that I think will determine where he goes on this list. Deadpool and Wolverine.
as one person.
I mean, no, just think about the fact that those 2 characters have led franchises. We know that being an immortal is very cinematic and can lead to some amazing scenes.
Yeah.
Imagine that with a 20-foot tall demigod who's also known as the Big Jolly Giant.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that screams S tier. Yes, it might not be the most sort of like damagingly impactful, but also in terms of cinematic and in terms of like the fact that you just can't kill the guy, so you're gonna lose eventually. Says to me that that's just pure S tier.
I was gonna say A.
Okay, well,
Because I have I have in mind a Primarch who I think is S tier.
I mean, there can be more than one in S.
Of course, yeah, there's going to be.
I mean, I will go for A for now,
Yeah,
but I'm thinking I probably will try and argue him up to a S later on.
that's fine, we can do that.
Okay, so A tier for Vulcan the Immortal.
Yes.
Okay, so Fulgrim.
I'm not the biggest fan of Fulgrim, to be honest. Obviously, like the Phoenician before. I think he, is great. But he killed Ferrus Manus, so I can't forgive him for that. Like, nasty sword or not.
Yeah, but don't forget we're talking about their power specifically.
Yes, I know. So
However,
I'm not
Fulgrim
sure.
is one that I'm not even sure actually has a known Primarch ability.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I can't actually think whether...
I think, if I remember right, he heals particularly fast, but he's not a perpetual.
Right. Obviously, he does have a way of creating stuff, doesn't he? He's got, like, he's very artistic and, like...
Yeah, but I'm not sure that we classify that as a Primarch power.
Okay.
Certainly not when we compare him to someone like Vulcan again or Ferrus Manus, who are Forge Masters. So, for now, as far as I know, Fulgrim's only real claim to fame in terms of power is his slightly higher ability to heal.
Right, okay.
Which means that he's basically got a, like, F-tier version of Vulcan's power.
Yeah.
Like, because all the Primarchs heal pretty quick, he's just a little bit quicker and not a perpetual. Therefore, I would say he's F tier.
Okay, let's put him in F tier for now then. We can always switch it out later if we feel that we need to give him a little bit more credit, but like I said, I don't really like him very much.
Is that Fulgrim or is that supposed to be Magnus?
No.
That's Magnus, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's Fulgrim.
Oh, okay. So, let's do Magnus next then.
Instant S tier.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He is literally the second most powerful psyker in the entire galaxy.
Yeah.
Literally so powerful that the Emperor wanted him to power the Golden Throne.
Yeah.
Which, so far as we know, the Emperor is the only other person that could possibly withstand the power of the throne.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Magnus has to be S tier.
And he's also, you know, Smash.
That
so
has nothing to do with his Primarch powers.
Okay.
Okay, so Alpharius Omegon.
The twin Primarchs, who are also the same person.
Yes, so they are obviously a favourite of mine.
S tier. I'm saying it right now. S tier.
I'd love to say they were S tier, but they probably aren't. Their special power, essentially, is that they can feed other Space Marines their blood and temporarily make them into mini Primarchs.
Yeah, I knew that.
So they can essentially, that's how they obviously get away with making other people seem like they're them.
Yeah.
So the whole meme of I am Alpharius isn't actually a meme, it's actually literally something they can do. They can literally turn their own Space Marines into versions of themselves.
Yeah.
Temporarily. So they can literally run around with multiple Primarchs, essentially. Which I would say, I would argue is probably A tier. But, because cinematically that's kind of cool, because you kind of get this sort of like mystery style Primarch that you can do with like its cool reveals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have like the big bombastic effect that you can get with something like a Perpetual or a Magnus.
Yeah.
So I'd still say it's pretty good and it's pretty strong. And I would also argue it's probably the reason why he's still alive. Despite what the fact that a lot of people don't think that either of them are. I think they're probably both still alive, but even if one of them's dead, I definitely think one of them's still alive. So yeah, I would say A tier.
Okay. We'll pop him in A tier then.
An A tier. I'm going to say lower than Vulcan though, because I'm still convinced Vulcan should be S tier.
Oh yeah, well, I think if we do it by the best of the tier is at the front, then yeah, that's pretty good to me. So I think.
Do you know who that is?
Is that?
Oh, it's not who I thought it was. Oh, I know who it is.
Nope, that's Perturabo down there. So that must be Ferrus Manus.
It is indeed.
Yeah. He is a Forge Master, isn't he?
He is a Forge Master.
He's good at...
The only other thing I'm going to say is he's also got his literal iron hands.
Yeah. How did his iron hands become a thing? That's not a mutation he was born with, was it? No. It was an accident or something.
He basically had to fight a mechanical beast on his homeworld.
Yeah.
Which is heavily, heavily, heavily rumoured or speculated to have been a Necron construct. And in order to kill it or defeat it, he had to drown it in molten rock or lava. So he literally held it
underground.
Well, not underground, under lava.
Yeah.
And the living metal basically bonded to his skin as the machine just died. And it just became a permanent part of him.
Fuck.
So, pretty badass.
Yeah.
So, you know, kind of badass. However, in terms of power, I think that's pretty weak. So I think he's going to get points for cinematics, but I think he loses a lot of points for just not being very strong.
I definitely think that he is going to stay out of the F tier.
Yeah, he's definitely not F tier.
For the fact that he withstood that. I'm thinking he is sort of a middle ground at the moment. Like, I think I'm sitting with him on a C tier in my head.
Okay.
I don't think that it's necessarily like a bad thing. but I don't think he's on the same level as the Lion.
He's definitely on the same level as Lion, but I think he's a lot lower than that. I reckon he's at least D. Because the only thing going for him is it will kind of look cool. And even then, I'd still maybe go down as far as E.
No, I'm not putting him in the... If you don't want to put him in C, I will put him in D, but I'm not putting him in E, because I think that's a little bit harsh.
Okay.
So he can go in D tier.
Okay, let's go for D.
Yeah.
Right.
So the next one looks like Rogel Dawn.
Rogel Dawn.
I've got to be honest, I don't know much about Rogel Dawn or the Imperial Fists.
I don't know that he has any known Primarch power.
Right, okay.
So I think he's also instant F.
Yeah, so he's in an F tier. I still think that Fulgrim is number 1 in F tier though, personally.
I mean, he definitely slightly beats Rogel Dawn out. Just by the mere fact that he is known to be slightly better at something.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think Rogel Dawn is necessarily known for having any kind of actual ability.
Yeah. So I think that looks like Sanguinius.
I believe that is supposed to be the angel himself.
S tier.
Okay. Why?
Isn't his Primarch ability like... It's something to do with him being an angel, right? Is it sort of...
I mean, you're kind of right and kind of massively wrong.
Okay, so tell me what his power is.
So his actual power is precognition. Exactly the same power as Conrad has. He can see the future. They have the exact same power. The only potential caveat we could add on to that is his literal wings.
Yeah, they are a
Actual
mutation.
wings.
Yeah.
So I think the wings give him the sort of cinematic buff.
Yeah.
Like, that looks cool. I mean, one of my favourite scenes in the Horus Heresy book series so far is when they describe Sanguinius leaping out of a stormbird, wings unfurling as he flies down onto the battlefield with his Space Marine jump troops.
Wow.
The way they describe it, you could see it.
Yeah.
And you could just imagine that being done in live action would just look so amazing.
I'm still sat at that S tier.
But precognition as a power, it's never proven to be very effective because none of the Primarchs have been able to use it to kind of deny the future. They can see it happen, but they can't stop it. So to me, it feels like a almost pointless power. Like, Sanguinius is known to have seen his own death. Didn't stop it. Or couldn't stop it. Conrad Kurz saw his own death. Let it happen. So, precognition doesn't really seem to be that useful in terms of Primarchs because they never really used them to any great effect.
So where would you put him?
So, for sheer cool factor, and the fact that he has a useful power, unlike Ferrus, I would put him just above Ferrus at C.
Okay, so neither good, neither bad, just sort of in the middle.
Yeah, because I think, as I say, the actual power
It's
doesn't come across as very useful.
Yeah.
Or certainly, it doesn't really sound or come across like it would actually have any impact anyway, because the future is already kind of decided from the sounds of it in 40k. So, I would say it's a somewhat useless ability. Whereas the wings just bump him right up because that just looks epic.
Yeah, they would look very cool, like on a live action perspective.
But so he basically gets like full points for cinematics, which immediately jumps him to C. The precognition, you could maybe argue him up to a B because it's kind of okay.
Kind of okay, yeah.
But doesn't really do a lot. So I kind of, I'd be happy with, I would happily put him in B, but I think he's a C.
Yeah. So, next person is the Great Khan.
It is indeed the Khan.
I have absolutely no idea what his Primarch power is. You're going to have to tell me.
As far as I know, he doesn't have one.
Right.
So, again, it's an F.
No.
Argue.
Put him in E.
Why?
Because cinematically, he would be...
Has no powers.
No, but he would look...
No. This is all about powers, not their just... Because otherwise, if we're just going to start modifying this as based on who looks the coolest, then, well, you know, most of them just go up a tier automatically because they all are pretty cool. I don't think any of them go down a tier for their looks because they all look pretty cool.
Okay. So yeah, he is going to be an F tier if he doesn't have...
You can put him in front of Rogor if you want. Because I just...
Yeah, I'll put him in front of Rogor.
I just prefer him.
Yeah.
I'll just let my bias get involved.
Yeah, that's fine. And that's Naughty Boy Lorgar down there, isn't it?
It is not.
Is it not?
No. It's supposedly your favourite Primarch. Or one you said was the greatest.
Is that supposed to be Gilliman?
That's Gilliman.
But he's bald.
No, he's not.
He looks bald.
He's got hair there.
Oh, I see. For some reason, it looked like
he's got a very close cropped Roman cut. Yeah, but he's not bald.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, you're right. Gilliman.
I would have thought the bright blue armour and the big golden aquila.
Do you know what I did? I think I got confused. My brain switched across to the picture of Lorgar next to Horus, and I think. But anyway, Gilliman. To me, his power is...
Again,
doesn't really have one, does he?
I don't think he strictly has one.
He's got like a little bit of like psychicness going on.
Not as far as we know. No.
Yeah.
As far as we know, he's pretty psychically mute. If in order to not just chuck him in F tier like all the others...
Yeah.
And because he's already come back into the storyline,
he has.
Therefore is not likely to get some kind of magic update.
Yeah.
Let's give him the benefit of doubt and say his analytical mind is supernaturally better than all the other Primarchs, which is probably not untrue to a certain degree. So let's say his big brain.
Big brain.
His big brain is his power. Let's give him a little bit of leniency, especially as he's also hated on by so many people. Let's be nice to him.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a massive problem with Gilliman. He's probably the most boring of them. But
good old Rob.
Unless we say his Primarch power is being boring.
No.
or the Master of XL.
He's the poster boy.
No.
Of the poster boys.
Yes, he is. But anyway, so okay, let's do what we said.
Yeah, I'm gonna say probably D. Or is that too high for you?
That's too high for me. He's got the E.
Fine.
he's got such a. There's no cinematic value in there.
I don't believe that.
How? Okay, so how do you make basically? The joke about being a spreadsheet champion cinematic. How do you make that cinematic? If you can tell me how that's cinematic, I'll let you have it.
Oh God. Oh no, I don't think I can. I think I just want him to. No, okay.
So you're trying to argue him up. I chose to argue my own favourite down.
I know. Okay. Let's pop him in E tier.
Okay, let's pop him into E.
Yeah. So we have the heresy himself, Horus Lupercal.
Yeah. Now we could grade him in a few different ways.
Yes.
Because we could obviously grade him in the terms of, the fact that he was the Primarch to unite the dark forces.
Yeah.
Or the one that was first given the powers of Chaos Undivided.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and I think probably the better way of doing it, because we're not really counting the Primarchs post Demonhood at the moment.
No.
Although we could potentially look at that to reevaluate some of them.
Yeah.
I would say that his actual pre-demonic power was his supernatural charisma.
Okay.
Because he is the only Primarch to at least have the respect of every other Primarch.
Yeah.
The only Primarch that didn't get on well with him was Corvus Corax.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, we can judge him on that. I think he's probably a B. If that's what we're judging him on, then that is probably where I'd put him.
That's quite high, to be fair. I wasn't expecting it to be that high.
Well, it's either B or C. I don't think he's that high. I think.
So if you're ranking it just on cinematic value,
Yeah.
do you think it's very cinematic, being super charismatic?
Well, this is the thing, because if you're super charismatic, then you can captivate an audience.
Mm.
But it would obviously have to be used right, and not.
So for example, will we classify like an epic speech scene as a cinematic scene?
Ooh.
It's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I could make a really good example of where I think we could argue it is.
Okay.
And that's Theoden's speech at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. Ride now for ruin, ride now for wrath.
Yeah.
Death, death, charge, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's a really cinematic shot.
Yeah.
And it's just a man shouting on a horse. So imagine someone like Horace Lupercal doing something like that. Which, again, there are evidences of him doing stuff like that in the books. Because I remember there's one scene, I can't remember the exact wording of it, but he's talking to this sort of alien overlord, and this alien's like basically saying, "Oh yeah, we're not going to surrender. We're gonna take you all out.
Yeah.
You should have brought more warriors." And he just goes, "Who says I'm alone?" And then in the background, that's when you get the scene of Sanguinius jumping out of the drop pods and landing in and fighting alongside Horus.
Wow. Now I feel like we need to put them together in C tier.
Yeah, so cinematically then, we can agree that, yes, that is a cinematic ability.
Yeah.
However, do we consider it a powerful ability?
Not really.
Really? Could I not argue to say that this is the guy who united chaos into a civil war that almost destroyed the Imperium?
Yeah.
Basically because he was charming.
Yeah. And he had a point.
I don't know. I reckon that's probably one of the more powerful abilities.
Where do you want to put him?
I want to put him at least A.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I'd like to go as far as S.
No.
Because
No, I disagree with S tier. I don't think he can be on the same level as Magnus.
Because I think someone who can basically unite half a galaxy to fight for him is pretty much as powerful as any super weapon or power you could ever ask for. I mean, let me put it this way: Magnus served Horus. So did 8 other Primarchs. Or 7 others. No, 8, kind of.
If you want to put him in A, then I agree.
Okay.
He's probably between Vulcan and Afaris Emagon.
Oh, he's definitely above.
Oh, you're killing me.
I mean...
hard, isn't it?
It is hard. I would say I'd rather put Horus in S over Vulcan.
Vulcan's an A.
Vulcan is an A.
Yeah.
But don't forget, I originally wanted to put Vulcan in S. But if I had to choose between Horus and Vulcan to move up to S, I'd choose Horus.
I say that we put him ahead of Vulcan in A.
Okay.
And we can discuss once we've done them all. We can go back through it later and discuss the changes.
Okay. Well, at least we've got a Primarch in every tier at the moment.
Yes, we do. We have managed to do that.
Okay, so can you guess who that one is?
Lorgar.
This is Dirty Little Lorgar.
I hate him so much. But I'm pretty sure his ability has something to do with prayer, doesn't it?
Well,
he has an ability to talk the big game and convince people, and
yeah. Again, I think he's basically
he's a cultist, so
he's a low level Horus. He's got a certain level of charisma.
Yeah.
That does kind of work, but it's nowhere near as effective as what Horus can do.
No.
But again, I think he's still going to win in terms of cinematics. You know, it'd be quite an epic scene. I'm thinking instead of like an epic hero speech.
Oh, he'd be so hated.
He'd be more like Saruman from this using the same kind of idea franchise as
Lord of the Rings.
He's the guy standing on top of the tower saying, you know, something along the lines of, "Today you will taste man flesh," and you know, again, there's massive uproar going on. Still cinematic and epic, but he's not the one who's getting the cinematics. It's his army that gets the cinematic shot, which means I would say he's got to be a lot lower than Horus, but probably still higher than Ferrus.
C then?
Yeah, I'd say C.
Yeah.
And I'd argue still better than Sanguinius.
Not as a person, but
not as a person,
power
but in terms
wise,
of power,
yes.
I think, you know, it probably is slightly better.
Yeah. So that down there is the Raven Boy, Corvus Corax.
That is indeed. Now we can. He's got two potential powers.
Yeah, because he's a big old bird now.
Yeah, so because we haven't rated the other demon Primarchs as demons, let's not talk about him in terms of his pseudo demonic form.
Yeah.
Let's talk about him pre.
That.
Yeah. Because he does have a known power even before that.
I don't know what it is.
No. You will get this reference. I used this on John and he didn't really understand it.
Okay.
So he effectively has the ability to make you kind of not notice him. And the best way I can describe that is like when Doctor Who has
they
that
put the
weird key power.
It's so I know what you're talking about. So it's the it's one of the, I think the episodes were called End of the World or something, but the Master has basically put out a call that Martha, Jack and the Doctor...
We don't need to go into the story of...
No, I know, but it's...
No, we just need the context of the ability.
They put the key over their neck. It's a TARDIS key.
Yeah.
And it's something to do with... perspective or something. It's sort of, it basically makes you invisible.
Well,
yeah,
it's not invisible, but you don't. It's hard to notice you basically.
It hurts if you look for too long at them. In that context.
Yeah, but it's essentially that kind of idea.
Okay.
He can kind of trick you into not noticing him.
Okay. That would be quite useful, wouldn't it? As a
quite useful.
Power?
I wouldn't say it's a particularly powerful ability.
No.
Not in general context anyway. There are going to be occasions where that is going to be like OP.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're on like an assassination mission or something, great, that's an amazing power. But in certain contexts, I don't think that's too powerful.
Yeah.
Cinematically, though, I would argue that quite a lot of video games rely on that kind of trope.
Yeah, definitely seen it been used before.
Like a lot of Assassin's Creed games and stuff are kind of like the whole "you won't notice me even though I'm in plain sight" kind of idea.
Yeah.
This is obviously a little bit more supernatural than that. But yeah, so I'd say still quite cinematic.
I would say it's probably a little bit better than Ferrus Manus.
Yeah, I'd say better than Ferrus.
But I wouldn't say he's on the same level as Sanguinius with the precognition. I feel like precognition
I think
wins over like a Houdini act.
I think the Houdini act probably is better.
Yeah. So should we say just before Ferrus in D tier?
No, I think he's better than Sanguinius.
So between him and Lorgar in C? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy with that.
Because I think, like we said with the precog doesn't really seem to do anything. It's kind of okay, and it's kind of cinematic, and obviously he's got the cool wings, but
Yeah.
Corvus Corax also has wings that are just made of metal because he has a really cool jump pack.
He does. He's got
and
like
the lightning
raven
bolts and
wings
stuff.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's kind of got his own version of that anyway. So
Yeah.
he's already kind of matching Sanguinius in the whole cool aspect. I think Sanguinius slightly outcools him. But then Corax's ability, I think, is just better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he just edges out Sanguinius.
That's Perturabo down there.
That is Perturabo. Do you know his power? He does have one.
No, I don't think I do.
So Perturabo's power is interesting because he knows how everything works just by looking at it.
Okay.
But the way he knows how things work is because he knows how things can break instantly. So he doesn't necessarily instinctively know how something works by looking at it. He knows instinctively how to break it by looking at it.
Oh, what would you call that?
No idea. So, for example, if he'd never seen a watch before, he'd know how the watch was made by looking at it because he'd understand how to break it.
Wow, that's...
It's a bit weird.
I mean, it's weird, but it's only weird because I've never heard of anything like that before.
Yeah, it's unique.
Okay, so that cinematically would be quite interesting because you could have scenes where he would be imagining breaking something and then putting it back together, but I don't think
you could almost have a really cool sort of overlay almost where he looks at something and the time stops a little bit and you see that object just kind of explode out into all its different parts.
Yeah.
And then little bits get highlighted as he's like, oh, okay, so if I break that, the machine stops working, it all collapses together and time restarts. That'd look quite cool.
I think I might be rating him a little bit too low, but I think he's probably ahead of Guilliman in E tier.
Really? That low?
It's a little bit low, isn't it? I'm just thinking
way too low.
I was thinking along the lines of big brain again. Do you know what I mean?
This is a guy who can basically just look at a fortress and say, right, cool, this is how I get in.
Okay, yeah.
Or, here's an entire planet's worth of defences. Oh, yeah.
I didn't really think about that.
I know exactly how to break into the planet. Oh, you've got a new super tank. I know how it breaks. Instantly. I reckon he is immediately going straight above the lion.
Really?
Immediately.
Are we talking above him in B tier, or are we putting him in A?
No, I think B tier.
Okay. Because that was going to be my suggestion, was going to be next. If E is too low, then B would be the only place I would properly sit him at. So I'm happy with that. If that's where you want to put him, yeah.
Okay. Ding.
That's Mortarion.
That is indeed.
Does his power have something to do with pollution, or is that just his whole gimmick after being taken over by Nurgle now?
No, he kind of had that beforehand. So his thing essentially is the fact that he's just hyper resistant to poisons.
Yes, that's it. Was he poisoned or something when he was...
He grew up on a toxic planet.
Yeah. Cinematically, I mean, that sounds pretty cool, you know, like seeing a great big bloody 20-foot man walking through thick green smog while people are literally dying around him would be pretty cool, but...
I don't see that as being particularly interesting in terms of cinematics.
But it does scream D tier.
Yeah, I would say D.
But I think that Ferrus Manus is probably a little bit cooler than him.
Yeah, I'd say so, probably. I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So we'll pop him in D tier. There we go. Now, my baby, Comrade Kurz.
Comrade Kurz, well, we've already
Another
discussed it.
precognition.
Precog.
However, I do think that he would still be very cinematic. Because he's got, like...
It's the same, exactly the same power.
But he's got... Oh, I know, but...
He's definitely lower than Sanguinius because he just doesn't have the wings.
Yeah.
He's basically the same as Sanguinius in this list, just without wings.
Yeah.
So I say he has to be, like, top of D, low C, and I would argue top of D.
Okay. That hurts, but I agree. Pop him next to Mortarion. Okay, so that's Angron. Now
this is where we get really complicated.
Yeah.
Because you've got pre-Butcher's Nails Angron, you've got Butcher's Nails Angron, and then you've got Demon Angron. Now, we're going to ignore Demon Angron for now.
Yeah, for now.
Now, do we discuss him in terms of what he could have been?
No, I don't think we should.
Okay.
I think we should go off the information that we know of him, of what he was like,
Okay.
which is obviously Butcher's Nails.
Okay, in which case his Primarch power essentially is the fact that he's just a fucking rage monster.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have any power because all those potential powers were taken away by his insanity thanks to the nails.
Yeah.
So his only real power is the fact that he's basically insane.
Yeah.
Which, in the context of a juggernaut of destruction, is probably arguably a type of power. Because, you know, you've just got a guy who's got no fear whatsoever.
Yeah.
Will just charge into any combat situation without even the faintest hint of worry.
Yeah. I would probably argue that he should go between Lorgar and Corax in C tier.
That's quite high, to be fair.
Well, I don't think we should put him too low.
No?
I think it's a little bit more cinematic, like, you know, seeing a massive guy running through, carving his way through with anything, really. It doesn't really matter what it is, he's going to kill it anyway.
Yeah. I suppose it's definitely going to get some points for...
Where would you put
The problem is, I just don't think the cinematic isn't necessarily related to the power there, it's just the gore fest.
it? Yeah.
So I don't really attribute much of that to the actual power, it's just... Yeah, it's just going to be epically gory. And in terms of usefulness, I'd say it's very mediocre. So I would say he's going to be sitting in E with Gilliman.
Wow, okay. Can we meet in the middle and put him in low D?
I can I can allow a low D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go a low D. No one clip that out of context.
So the last one then is Lehman.
It is.
Lehman of the Rus.
Lehman of the Rus.
It's gotta be something to do with being a wolf, or is it another psychic thing?
Well, this is where it gets a little bit complex again. These are two of the more complex ones.
Yeah.
So, Rus essentially does have heightened senses compared to normal Primarchs.
Yeah.
You know, very wolf-like sense of smell and vision and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he's also rumoured to have like an impact or psychic dampening effect.
Right.
So that psychic powers just don't work as well around him.
Right.
Not quite to the same level as a null, but similar.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also one of the reasons he was able to beat Magnus in a fight.
Yeah. I was thinking S tier.
That's very high.
I just think that there's a reason why he could beat Magnus in a fight.
Well, part of that was obviously the fact that Magnus didn't want to fight
Well,
at all, let alone fight his brother. And also he was trying to save his sons rather than necessarily trying to kill Rus.
yeah.
Whereas Rus was trying to kill him, so it wasn't a very fair fight. Because one was trying to kill, the other one wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's a little bit too high then.
I'd say probably, like, 'cause cinematically, again, we're not talking about their fighting ability here, so cinematically, does it look? Is it going to look cool to see him dampen other people's psychic abilities? Probably not. If anything, it's going to make the others less cool, but it's not making him look cool. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
And then, like, the senses thing, I mean, you know, it's not going to be much different to, say, watching, say, The Witcher. Like, is watching Geralt of Rivia do a little sniff here and there very cinematic?
No.
No. So, I think he loses a lot of points in cinema. Like, usefulness, yeah, it's definitely useful. And pretty good, but I don't think he's going to get a lot of points for cinematics.
Yeah.
So, again, I think he's going to be somewhere in the C range.
Yeah. I think he's probably above Lorgar though.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's where we should put him then.
Okay.
So this is the interesting thing now. So, is there anybody where we've put them that you're not happy with that you want to revisit apart from Horus?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to shunt the lion down.
Oh no!
Now that I'm looking at the caliber of powers in the top tiers, I'm like, no, the lion's just naff compared to some of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely. I would say the lion and Russ almost need to swap places.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think you were right about Horus. I think Horus should probably go to S tier. I feel like he is the only one who's sort of on par with Magnus. I would also argue that Vulcan should go in S tier as well.
Yeah. I don't know. Now that we've got those two up there, I think I'm quite happy with those as they are.
Yeah. I think Alfarius Omegon definitely should stay there. Perturabo should stay where he is.
Yeah.
The Lion obviously has moved. Lorgar, are you happy with where he is? Because I'm starting to think that...
I think Lorgar needs to be above the Lion, at least.
Sorry. Yeah. Powers-wise, yes. Obviously, if we were doing this, basing them on the people that they are,
yeah,
which I definitely think we should do in a later episode.
Yeah.
And then I would definitely, he would be right at the bottom. Corvus Corax and Sanguinius, I think that's a pretty good place to keep them. Unless you have a different opinion.
No. I'm quite happy with all of these now, I think.
I'm a bit sad with where Gilliman is. He's the only...
Yeah, but to be fair, we gave him bonuses to keep him out of F tier.
We did, yeah.
So he's done quite well, to be fair.
And then obviously the 3 that are in F tier don't have abilities.
No.
So
are we going to be happy that this is where we think they are at the moment?
I am very happy with that. Yeah.
Okay. So let's mix things up a little bit.
Okay.
And let's talk about some of them post demonhood.
Post demon. Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about the ones that we know of that have gained extra abilities since they've turned.
Well, so Angron
let's do a nice easy one to start with and not do the 4 chaos ones. Let's do the only loyalist demon.
Corvus Corax, who's now a giant raven, I think.
Raven assassin.
I don't know if he's got a different name now.
No, he's still the same. So Corvus Corax now has the ability to basically shapeshift into a giant
raven
demon thing.
Yeah.
As well as a flock of ravens or just a shadow. He's basically become the ultimate assassin. Yeah.
I think that's pretty frickin' cinematic.
That is like top tier cinematic.
Yeah.
That's gonna look very cool.
Yeah.
Is it super powerful? I think we're definitely in A tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it comes close to Magnus and Horus in terms of power or cinematics necessarily, but it's definitely A tier, and I would say top of A as well.
Yeah.
Because it's going to look cooler than pretty much both Alfarius and Vulcan.
Yeah.
Is it as powerful as both of them?
No.
Maybe not. Probably is more powerful. Maybe a little bit less powerful than Perpetuality. But I think he's going to win. I think he's still going to win out in terms of cinematics.
Yeah.
So it's literally just pipping Vulcan to the post, I think.
Yeah. So let's go down the list. So
should we let's do the demons in the release order that they come out in. So the first one was Magnus.
Yeah.
Magnus can't get better, and I don't think he's got worse.
No.
The powers. In fact, we could even try and add like an S plus tier, because I think he then moves into that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he's just become like an absolute psychic monstrosity
now. Lorgar is a demon prince of Chaos Undivided.
Hang on. We're just going to do the ones that we know have kind of come back in terms of 40k narrative.
Oh yeah, of course, because Lorgar is
currently nowhere to be
self-imposed in isolation, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next one is Mortarion.
Yes.
The stinkiest of the Primarchs.
Yeah.
He's suddenly gained, obviously, supernatural resilience.
Yeah.
Extreme strength. Durability.
Yeah.
And he's also now a psyker the fullest sense.
Yeah. That's a pretty big jump from just being a guy who can, you know, walk through a cloud of tear gas.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be S tier, isn't it?
It's definitely not S tier. I don't think any of them are going into S. But I do think it's top of A.
Yeah, I think he's definitely ahead of Corvus.
I don't know that it's going to be quite as cinematic as Corvus, because, you know, Corvus has got the whole shape-shifting thing going on.
Yeah.
Which will look quite cool in a lot of scenes, whereas watching a big stinky man float around and shoot a big laser is probably not as cinematic.
Yeah.
Would be my argument anyway.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
I think he's just under Corax. Okay, so next released. Angron. Big angry Ron.
Who is currently banished to the warp.
Oh,
isn't he?
No, he comes.
Or is he back?
He comes back like every 7 days or something. Silly.
Oh, right, okay.
Like every time he dies, he just comes back within 7 days or something like that. It's silly. He just comes back.
So,
constantly.
From how he was before, I don't see much of a difference.
No, essentially, the only difference is he's bigger, he's redder, and
Badder.
he doesn't really die anymore.
Nope.
However, that still puts him above Vulcan again, because he's effectively a perpetual with the power of a demon.
Yeah.
Is he as powerful or as flashy as Corax and Mortarion though? I would say probably not.
No, I don't think so.
I still think those two outclass Angron in terms of cinematics. And
Yeah,
power.
definitely.
But he's still no slouch, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's going to rise up all the way up here.
Yeah.
You notice we're getting a lot of A's going on here.
We are, yeah.
And I think you might understand where I'm going to put the next one as well, because Fulgrim has just come back.
He has just literally a couple of weeks ago, hasn't he? Come back?
Yeah, in fact, I'm not so sure. It wasn't actually released this weekend. It might have been this weekend or last weekend. Or it might be next weekend. It's around now.
Yeah.
Basically, super powered snake boy who is extreme swordsman, has psychic abilities that can mess with the minds of your opponent, has actually killed Gilliman once already.
Yes, he did. In the Battle of Thessala. Is that what it's called?
I don't know that. I did not know.
Yeah.
And obviously is one of the only Primarchs to have actually killed another Primarch permanently, which was Ferrus.
Ferrus Manus, yes.
And that was before Demonhood.
I think he's probably going to shoot up from F tier. He's probably going to be another A tier.
He is definitely an A tier.
I think he's probably would be a little bit more cinematic than Corvus.
Yeah, I think he's the only one of the 4 core demons that are going to jump above Corax in terms of just cinematics and power. Because I think the Phoenician's probably a little bit stronger as well.
That is... That's a lot of people.
We've gone from kind of quite even to suddenly overloading into A.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're done. I think that...
Well, and we could modify this a little bit more as well.
Oh god, here we go.
Right, so let's put Horus down here. Let's put Conrad down here. Let's put Sanguinius down here.
No!
Why am I doing this? Let's put Ferrus down here. Why are they all down there?
Because they're all dead.
Because they're all dead, so they have
Wait, Robledor's not dead?
No, they have no powers anymore because they're dead. So let's just move all of these up a bit. So now it looks like this.
Oh my god.
Because those 4 are dead.
Yeah.
And one
as far
could
as...
possibly argue that he's coming down here as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to put him at the top because there's definitely a chance he's not dead. But yeah, now this evens it out a little bit.
Yeah. You got Gilliman, who's managed to get himself up to D tier.
Yep. Somehow got all the way up to D. But yes, this is where we would I think this is where we would kind of rate them in terms of their power and cinematics.
Yeah.
From the perspective of the current 40k timeline.
I'm very happy with that, actually.
Yeah.
We definitely should do based on them as people next. I think it's at some point.
Yeah, we could definitely have a look at doing something.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Nice.
Yeah.
There we go. That's our first ever attempt at a tier list.
It would be fun to see whether John and Joe agree with us. Whether to see what they think when they see that. But how are my landlords coming along? They look like little blueberries.
These getting most of their metallics on them now.
Yeah.
So I'm about halfway through. So it's focusing in a little bit there.
Oh, there we go. That's a bit better.
Let's go a bit higher. Doesn't focus very well. Yeah, they are getting there. In fact, I've only got a little bit more to go in terms of metallics, and that'll be onto the wash stage.
Yeah.
Which means that once they get to the wash stage, there's very little left to do on them after that.
That's good.
So these guys will probably be done by the end of today.
Yay!
We'll definitely probably get them to the wash stage by the end of the stream.
Yeah.
Which means you will actually have technically three. Well, depending on how you break it up, but yeah, you could have quite a few units essentially ready.
Yeah.
Because you can actually run these in groups of 4, so that's 2 lots of. So that'd be with the other set that I've also done. That's 4 lots of tactical marines and 4 bases of plasmas done.
Yeah.
So that's essentially 5 units if you were to run them in minimum strength units.
Yeah.
I don't tend to, but that's obviously entirely how you want to play your army. Yeah. And a grand total of exactly 100 Space Marines.
100 Space Marines. Ah. I do like my little itty bitty soldiers. They do look very good. I'm very grateful that you have taken the time to do them.
I've got many more to do yet. Still got to crack on and getting my own stuff done yet.
Yeah.
Still got all my Christmas boxes to do.
Yeah, where I'm sitting at the PC, there is a pile just in the corner over there of unopened boxes.
Oh no, they're all open.
Are they?
In fact, most of those boxes are ones I've finished.
Oh.
Boxes I haven't finished are a bit more hidden.
The corner of shame.
That's my corner of pride.
Yeah, okay.
The ones I've conquered.
I'll give you that one. But no, I've been wanting to come and sit on stream for ages now. But you know what life's like. You just it's a struggle to find the time to actually sit down and like talk lore, because I definitely want to overtake as the lore head at the Mead Hall. I think John probably is winning at that at the moment.
I don't know.
No?
I still reckon I might hold that chance. I don't know. John does know probably as much as me.
I think that John probably has a knack for picking up on obscure pieces.
I know a lot of lore, mainline lore, some of the more obscure stuff, and obviously anything that's directly related to the game I know more about.
Oh yeah.
I think John definitely beats me out on sort of the more obscure novels and stuff like that.
Yeah. obviously I am trying to read up on a little bit more, like from the actual like Black Library, kind of thing. But
I've just started a new book from Black Library.
have you?
Assassinorum Kingmaker.
Oh, what's that about?
It's about a group of assassins trying to meddle in the affairs of a night world.
Ooh. Are you listening to that as an audiobook, are you?
I am indeed.
Yeah.
It's been quite good so far. I'm taking a little bit of a break from the Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
About 20 books in or so.
Yeah.
But I've taken a little break. I've just read... I've listened to the Twice Dead King series, both books.
Oh, see, I really want to read that or listen to that.
Yeah, those are quite good. I've just done those two. I have got Infinite of the Divine as well to do.
Infinite and the Divine is on my list.
So I've got that one to do as well, but I thought I'll do Kingmaker for now. Because at the time I was painting up loads of knights, so it felt quite appropriate.
Yeah.
Problem was I didn't start it until I was just about finished with the knights.
Yeah.
But I'll finish that one off. Then I'm probably going to go back to the Heresy for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I shall probably, once I get a little bit tired of reading nothing but Heresy, I shall go back and...
Yeah, find something else.
And have to listen to Infinite of the Divine.
Yes.
And then probably go back into Heresy again. And I'll just hop in and out of the Heresy. Probably get like 5 or 10 book stints in.
Yeah.
And then grab another book from another series. Like I want to do... I want to listen to the Dark Imperium.
I definitely want to jump on that bandwagon as well.
Because that's the some of the most modern stories in terms of the Imperium.
Yeah.
That was a buzz.
Oh.
That was something connecting and reconnecting, I think.
Oh.
Good old Windows tune.
Yeah. Made me jump, to be honest.
That may not even get picked up by the mic. These mics are pretty good at not picking stuff up from the PC.
Yeah. Speaking about Infinite and the Divine, it's kind of funny to think that Trazyn just has a whole ass Fulgrim clone in his vault.
Yeah.
Oh,
it looks like our cameras are frozen.
Oh no.
It looks like audio is still coming through though. So, you might be able to do this. Just down here, it's like behind the thing,
Here?
behind the monitor, underneath, there is like a set of USB slots. Use your eyes. It's got a blue light flashing on it, I can see it from here. Next to the speaker.
That thing over there.
Yeah, unplug those two and plug them back in.
Okie dokie. Plug them back in.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
Okay, that did not work. Let me see if I can... Hang on, let's see if I... No, that's not working. There we go.
Are we back?
We should be back. If I go to both, yeah. We're back.
Lovely. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, there we go. We're moving. Whew. Minor technical glitch there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where were we?
Oh, I was just making a joke about how Trazyn has a Fulgrim clone in his vault.
Oh yes, he does. A perfect clone of Fulgrim.
Yeah.
Traded to him by
Fabulous Bile.
Fabulous Bile.
Fabulous Bill.
Who's definitely become a favourite among the Mead Hall team. I don't think there's any of us that don't like Fabulous
Bill. Yeah, no, I think we're all quite fond of him in our own ways.
I'm a big fan of Trazyn as well myself.
He seems just like very sassy. I wanna read the book.
Well, you
mostly just for him.
You have seen a version of him already.
Yes, there is isn't there an animation Warhammer TV of him?
One of the episodes of Hammer and Bolter.
Yeah.
Features Trazyn. And his vault.
He's got lots of different kinds of spooky stuff down there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a whole menagerie of interesting things throughout the 40k timeline.
He is the great collector.
He is indeed.
I have to say, it's probably due to you, to be honest, but I have warmed up to Necrons as like a concept. But I do not like playing against them when he is the one playing them.
You don't like it when I play anything.
No, because you always win, and you're so sneaky in all your decisions.
Yeah, but you're getting used to it. You've almost beat me a couple of times.
I have almost beat you, actually. I have. And it's been a long time coming, so I'm very glad about it.
And it will happen.
So I don't know if you can see, but set up behind us is actually the remnants of our last game, which we played on, was it Tuesday? Yeah. You won, didn't you?
I did.
But not. I would probably say due to a blunder on my part in like the later stages of the game. I think.
No, it was at the very beginning.
No, it was. Excuse me. Yeah, it was. It was at the very beginning, during deployment. I deployed my tanks on the other side of the board. He had all of his troops, his entire army on one side of the board, and I decided to spread out,
even though you had placed all of the objectives on the side of the board that mattered.
Yeah, I know. And I spread my army out too thinly, and I blundered it. I did have the lead for a considerable amount of time. I had the lead for 2 whole turns, but no, I did lose the game in deployment in the end, unfortunately.
It was unfortunate, it was indeed, but hopefully you'll have learned from it. And I did explain to you what went wrong and what you could do better next time.
Yeah.
So hopefully you'll remember that.
I definitely do stand with my opinion of that I do prefer Legions to 40k. Although saying that, I can't actually remember the last time we played a game of 40k. It has been a while.
It's been a long time since we've played 40k.
I feel like Jamie and I have been together for 4 years now. I feel like we haven't played a game of 40k in probably about 2 2 years.
No, not even close. We only started Legions last year.
Yeah, but
And
I
actually, we
wasn't
started Legions
playing.
about 8 months ago.
Yeah, but I wasn't really playing. You were playing with 40k, but I don't necessarily think you were playing 40k with me.
That still doesn't make sense, darling.
Well, regardless, it has been a long time, and
It's probably been nearly a year.
I don't really miss it very much. I definitely.
I don't necessarily miss it, so to speak, because this Legions kind of fills the same niche.
Well, yeah, it's still, you know.
I would like to play a little bit of 40k every now and then. Problem is every time I get a chance to play a game,
You want to play
I
Legions.
want to play Legions.
Yeah.
If we had a bit more time to play more games in the week, I'd definitely be looking at doing one of each.
Yeah, definitely.
But at the moment we struggle to get one a week in.
We do, yeah.
Because sadly you work shift patterns.
I do work shift patterns, yeah.
Makes planning these kind of things very difficult because your shifts are also the evenings and I work during the day.
Yeah, we do work on the opposite side of each other most of the time.
Yeah, which does make this kind of thing difficult to manage.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll fix that one day.
One day.
And we can be a little bit more forward planning.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we can make a go of the channel, hint, hint, guys.
Yeah.
We can do this a bit more regularly, and we can actually get more stuff to show off as well on the channel.
Although we have seen a little bit of growth on the channel at the moment.
Yeah.
We are doing quite well for ourselves. We definitely have seen a little bit of a jump. I was just going to have a look at the channel now. Let's see how we're getting on. There it is. It's always right at the top of my search when I go on YouTube. So yeah, we're sat at 60 subscribers at the moment, which is a jump from 50, which I believe was a month ago. So that's really positive. We were all very excited to hear about that. We love making Mead Hall videos, and we definitely have. It's definitely been. Well, I don't know. Would challenging be the word? Don't know if it's been challenging, but.
Oh, I mean, there's been challenging parts to the process.
Yeah.
And there's many more to come.
Yeah, of course.
Certainly with some of the newer content that we've got planned.
Yes, absolutely.
It's certainly going to challenge us in our filmmaking abilities.
Yeah. But no, we really enjoy making the Mead Hall videos, and we are very pleased to see that our channel is growing. Slowly but surely she's growing. But yeah. I think it's just it's nice that we can, sort of like get together with our friends and nerd out for an hour.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. Which is it's always fun to like be able to do that.
Yeah, and hopefully we can obviously share these experiences with everybody.
Exactly.
That is the ultimate goal, really.
Yeah. What bit are you on now? Are you still doing metals or?
Yeah, still doing metals. Currently painting studs. Which are teeny tiny little bits which are a pain.
Enough said. Yeah.
I'm getting through them really quickly. Once that's done, I've only got a little bit of gold to add on, and then it's wash time. So I'm hoping my prediction is right, and I will have the wash on before the stream is finished.
Yeah.
Which will mean I can finish these up, so that when the video for this goes up on YouTube next week, I can actually use the completed paint jobs as part of the thumbnail.
Yeah. That would be cool. See my little blue boys on there. I should probably call them bat boys instead of blue boys, because it just sounds like I'm talking about ultramarines.
Yeah. I mean, these are basically the grimdark smurfs.
Oh, grimdark smurfs. Oh, I like that actually. That's good. I do admire your patience with doing like all of the extra little bits. I can't imagine it's very easy to be able to do that.
It's not. I'm not I'm a self-professed lazy painter, and I don't particularly enjoy painting that much.
Yeah.
I like the results.
Yeah.
Because over the few years I've been doing it, I got to a nice level that I'm happy with.
Yeah.
But there are some things I don't enjoy doing.
No, I definitely have found my strength when it comes to Warhammer, and that is definitely on the the narrative storytelling side, and like lore and stuff, and obviously like playing the game. Obviously we're doing Legions at the moment, but I think it's hard to sort of like figure out like what you want to do with the hobby, because there's so much. There's so much different stuff that you can get into, like, you know, there's like the painting and building, and then like gaming, lore.
It's not just one hobby, it's multiple hobbies.
No, it's multiple hobbies smushed into a bowl with Warhammer on the label, like, and I think that we've all, like the four of us have all sort of come up with like what's best for us. Like, you've got John, who is a lore head, who like he like knows like a lot of like obscure lore, like when we used to do like the Horror Hammer podcast episodes, like some of the stuff that he would present to me, I would have my jaw on the floor. And if you haven't watched those videos, please go and watch those videos. There's some comedy gold in there. And then he's also a fantastic painter, but it takes him a while, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Bless him. We love John, but yeah, it takes him a little while. And then you've got John. Oh, I said John. Sorry. Then you've got Joe, who is the Xenos lover. He's a big fan of his Xenos. He's he's the only one of the four of us who is doing a Xenos faction, and he's quite good at rapidly producing his models. And then you've got Jamie, who is like the DIY man of Warhammer, he can do literally anything, knows everything. And then there's me, who's like, I don't know, I feel like I'm still relatively new. But I'm not really anymore.
Not anymore.
I'm sort of like...
Yeah, but you have been integrated into Hobby for about 2 years now.
Yeah, it's probably about 2 years. And obviously I've started, like, actually buying, like, my own armies.
Yes.
Like, I've actually... Yeah. Jamie's... But, I have actually, started buying, like, my own army and, like, building, like, my list. And
paying someone to paint them for you.
Paying somebody to paint them for me. Yeah. Paying him in
more models.
Possibly a Primarch, depending.
I don't have to buy my own models anymore.
Nope.
Just paint some of yours and you buy more for me.
Yep. That was the agreement.
Of course, the difficult thing is I've still got a polish and get through with my own, while also painting yours. So.
Yeah, but at least you don't have to worry about where the next lot that you need is going to come from because it will already be there.
That's true. Although I'm going to need to... Ideally, what I need to do is I need to get all your stuff painted up, all of my stuff painted up, so that next time we start buying more stuff in,
it's already done.
A set for you, a set for me, and then I can just paint 2 lots. Rather than trying to paint 2 armies back to back massively quickly.
Yeah.
Which, you know, is exactly what I've got to do, because I've got your entire army and I've got 3 of my armies that have got basically whole armies being added on to them to do.
Well,
I've got so much to paint.
I did ask you if you were sure if you wanted to do it, and you said yes.
Well, yeah, because I need them done for the channel. I can't rely on you to do that.
No, I'm not. I am not very good at.
Do you know how long I've spent roughly on your army so far?
How long?
6 hours.
Really? Wow.
Because I've pretty much done everything on stream. Well, I spent probably a bit more with the building actually, but even so, it's probably about 9 to 10 hours. And I've built all of your stuff, and I've now painted almost 2/3 of your infantry.
Wow.
So it's not taking too long for you.
No, it's not. Not in comparison, not a very long time at all. But yeah, no, I definitely was very adamant that I wasn't going to get into this hobby when Jamie and I first got together when we were in university.
Yeah, you were very...
I was very against it, which I think is, like, looking back, is quite silly, because it's quite, like I have fun, especially with playing Legions. I have fun, like when we played our last game, like, even though we had to do it over several days, it was a lot of fun and I was really engaged, and I do think that is because obviously Legions personally is it's a lot better to be able to follow. I don't...
Better to be able to follow.
Yeah, that wasn't English, was it?
Not really, no.
Let me try and reword it.
You could.
I can get my head
around.
Words. I can get my head around it.
Okay. If you wanted an easier way of saying that, darling, you could have just said, "It's easier to get my head around."
Yeah. But I also I think as well it's largely due to the fact that I'm not sat watching my entire army get obliterated, and then being told, oh, by the way, it's your turn now. And I'm like, oh.
With what?
Okay. What have I got left? And it's actually gotten to the point now where I'm very forgetful, and I'm actually getting to the point where I'm actually remembering some of my rules, which is like really weird because I'm not great at that, really, at all. So that's like really nice as well, and I think that you will probably agree with this, that I definitely am a better Legions player than I am a 40k player.
Yeah. But to be fair, 40k is very complicated.
It is very complicated.
You know, we haven't dedicated probably anywhere near as much time to it as we have Legions now.
Yeah.
Like, I think going back to 40k for you is going to be quite a jarring experience.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll enjoy it that much. We'll see. I mean, I know obviously 10th edition is different. I don't actually think I've played a game in 10th edition.
Yeah, you have.
Have I?
Yep.
This is what I mean about me being forgetful. I cannot remember that at all.
No way. Yeah, no, you definitely have.
Okay. Well, regardless, like, I obviously 10th edition, the rules are simpler.
Just to officially announce, they are done to the point of being ready for washing.
Are they?
Oh.
Ooh.
So
Can we get a focus? Can we get a
Let's
focus?
grab that one there.
Oh, they are so cool.
Try and get the sergeant there.
There he is. Wow.
So yeah.
I love him. I love all of them.
So the only thing that's left to do once the wash goes on these guys is that on the banners here, which hopefully will focus a little bit. There we go. So the banners have got to be filled in. We're just doing those as a skin tone because, you know, flayed flesh.
Yep.
The sergeants here with their power blades, they're going to have their blades going over with a little bit of a bluey effect so that they look like powered weapons.
Yeah.
These plasmas as well, they've got to have a little glowing effect on them, which again is done in 2 paints.
Mhm.
And then one in every stick is going to get a little bit of a lightning effect on them, and that's it, they'll be done. So all in all, there's probably another half hour's work in them, if that. And I should just show you, I'll do a blue Peter here. Here's some I made earlier that have had the full work done.
Yeah.
So if I grab this one, this is the end result that they will look at. So these are the plasmas.
Oh wow.
So you can kind of see the little
I can
blue
see the
plasma
blue.
effect.
Yeah, definitely.
The sword probably is not showing up very well on camera, but there is like a little bluish effect to the blade. And then if I turn it that way, you might be able to see my very poor attempt at a lightning bolt on the sergeant's arm. On the shoulder. Just barely.
I see him.
And then there's your banner with the sort of flesh tone on it. Is it going to focus? Looking very bright. Ooh. Hang on, let me see if I turn these lights off, maybe that'll help a little bit. Yeah, a little bit better. So you've got like little flesh tone banner.
Ooh.
So there you go. So that's what they'll look like. So yeah, and there you go. Look, you can see them next to each other, more or less. That is 100 Space Marines, believe it or not.
100 Space Marines.
100.
Wow. Ooh.
100 Night Lords. Painted up in 2 streams, basically.
Yeah.
So, we will be ending in just a second. So, I will probably do the. I'll slap on the wash off camera because there's no point me rushing to do that because everyone knows what a wash looks like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is pretty much it. So, yeah, do you want to pop the camera back over here, the main camera?
Yeah, sure.
Just so I can sign out, and you can come and crouch next to me if you want.
I shall come and crouch.
Let's just grab that one. Pop the camera about there.
Getting up out of my chair for the first time in 3 hours is a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes take a break in between. Not
Oh,
so,
I'm
there
angry
we go.
myself. There I am.
So we're back on the what I call the personal cam.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is it pretty much for today. So thank you very much for joining me. It's been fun.
That's okay. I've had fun. I get to sit and yap. That's like dream come true for me. So.
So yeah, if you want to get help us get to a point where she can sit and yap for a living, that'd be great.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
And obviously, while I slave away painting her armies.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. So anyway, that has been it from us. Mead Gaming's live stream, the Hobby Hall. I've been Jay, painting up some Night Lords. This has been.
I've been Elle and I have been yapping your ear off for 3 hours and I hope you have fun.
So thank you very much for joining. Hopefully you'll be able to catch this video on YouTube, and please do have a look at the rest of our stuff and share and like and subscribe and all of that jazz. Check out our socials. Until then, we'll see you next time in the Mead Hall. Goodbye for now.
Bye!